Professor Bhagwati, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. No decisions in that sense being taken by the RBI at the first board meeting chaired by Shaktikanta, the new governor of the Reserve Bank of India, both as far as the issues of governance are concerned, saying that they would require more time to deliberate, and on matters related to liquidity, credit delivery and currency management, etc. as well, suggesting that further examination is required. Do you believe that, especially when it comes to governance-related issues, that we could see this being pushed off the table as a priority item now that there has been a leadership change?
You know, the priorities remain the same. It's natural that RBI and government will have somewhat different perspectives. The RBI is concerned about inflation. It is concerned about financial sector integrity. It is concerned about overall growth. But the government obviously has a broader mandate, and they have an all-encompassing concern about how to grow employment opportunities and how to push the economy onto a higher trajectory of growth. And ultimately, if I look at what is going on more recently, it is how to get project financing back on track. So those are the differences in the priorities between the two. And I'm hoping that a new beginning, with a new RBI governor, we'll see that the discussions between the two will happen behind closed doors. Then we don't hear too much of it. I think it's natural that there will be differences.
Yes.
But those differences can be ironed out, and I'll wait for you to ask me some more specific questions.
Yeah, you know, you're saying that you hope that these differences will be ironed out behind closed doors. But, sir, I want to draw your attention to the comments that have come in from several ministers within the cabinet. Minister Goyal yesterday tweeting, saying that one cannot have power without being responsible to use that power. At the end of the day, public interest is paramount. This in the context of autonomy of institutions. The finance minister also very categorically suggesting that, that they have spoken with the Reserve Bank of India in the past under Urjit Patel. And he says, and I quote, "I can't imagine how bringing issues on credit and liquidity to the attention of the RBI can lead to a question of autonomy of the central bank." So the government, in a sense, making it very clear that Urjit Patel didn't deliver on the promise of growth. And if you look at the comments that have come in from the new governor, he did very categorically state that financial stability or monetary policy is not the only remit of the Reserve Bank of India. Growth is, and he quoted the preamble of the RBI Act. So, what do you believe is now going to be the way forward, given the fact that North Block has made its position very clear?
You referred to some statements about power and accountability. I mean, everybody will agree that these are the two sides of the same coin. Same coin, pardon me. I think it's about as obvious as saying that the sun comes out from the east. Every entity, every individual, which or who enjoys some power, must also be accountable to someone. And I don't want to get into what former Governor Dr. Urjit Patel did or said. I'd rather talk in terms of the institution. I don't think that any governor of RBI would ever say that they have absolutely no concern about economic growth. Now, economic growth is a concept which people can address or come at from so many different angles. Do we do something in the short term which hurts us in the medium to long term? It's the usual thing. No, the governments, because of their political compulsions, after all, they have to win elections, sometimes have to look at things at the shorter term. And the Reserve Bank of India, because they are appointees and they have fixed terms which could be renewed, they have the luxury or the benefit to take a look at things over the longer term. So now these two views may not exactly coincide. For instance, inflation. The MPC says that, they are going to keep rates on hold. If I remember right, that was their decision at the last meeting. Some very well-informed and I think knowledgeable people might have said that no, it was high time to cut rates, particularly since now that we know that CPI has come down quite sharply, and I think the WPI numbers are also down. I think they were released today. So, this is not something that I find I would not find fault with anyone, because the longer-term objectives for this country are to, as I will repeat,
right,
promote employment opportunities and sustain high growth. But how to do it, how to arrive at those two desired objectives, I think intelligent, reasonable people can differ.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Of course, there can be differences of opinion, but let me get your opinion, sir, on an issue that is currently being considered. And given where we see the economy today, you talked about inflation, the fact that growth at least has come in at a three-quarter low at this point in time. The clamor seems to be building for a fiscal stimulus, especially in the context of the electoral setback for the ruling party. Do you believe that that is the need of the hour, and what would you be concerned about as this clamor picks up?
One number cannot encompass everything that is happening in the economy, and I would look more at capital expenditure. If you look at the numbers for capital expenditure, if that is something that the government embarks on in a considered manner, and if for that reason, and I'm emphasizing again, capital expenditure as distinct from consumption or current expenditure, and it is thought out well, both in terms of how much would be spent and how it would be spent and through which channels it would be spent. You might recall, though, all that hoopla about projects between 2008 and 2012 or even 13 of public-private partnerships and so on. A number of institutions have come to grief. When I say institutions, I'm referring to public sector banks, because it wasn't thought out. Now, coming back to government's fiscal deficit targets, as I said at the outset of my response to your question, I believe that this is not something which is sacrosanct, and whether 3.2 is the right number and 3.5 is the wrong number, I don't know. I would not be averse to a 3.5 or even a 3.6 number.
Okay.
And I wouldn't worry too much about these rating agencies.
Fair
These
point.
are the same rating agencies, Moody's and S&P, which gave AAA ratings to mortgage-backed securities in 2005, 6, 7, even almost till the...
Oh, absolutely. You're right on that count. Rating agencies have often gotten it wrong, and horribly so. So you're not a fiscal deficit hawk, as you pointed out, but you would like to see more being spent on capital expenditure and not on a national farm loan waiver. Germany Bhagwati, thanks very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. With that, it is time for us to wrap up a special on the Reserve Bank's first meeting chaired by the new Governor Shaktikanta Das. We'll take a break. A lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere.